I'm personal injury and wrongful death attorney Mark Wesbrooks of the Wesbrooks Law Firm. I've been practicing for 27 years. I've represented victims of wrongful death and personal injury claims and had some specific emphasis with respect to aviation disasters. When I was a child, I grew up in the back of an airplane. My father and mother were both pilots. They owned a Piper Comanche. And my mother actually raced planes. She was in an organization known as the 99s, which was started by Amelia Earhart as an all women's pilots association. And she raced in that coast to coast race, I think 3 different years. I also grew up in a law firm. My father was a personal injury attorney in North Texas. I trained for a pilot's license, and I actually flew even after I got out of law school for a period of time. So aviation has always been a part of me. I spent my last 27 years of law practice representing victims of wrongful death and personal injury actions. That not only includes going after those who caused an accident, such as a pilot or maybe a ground control person or a corporation that somehow was involved with the staffing of employees, but it involved also unreasonably dangerous products, defective components, things that maybe were understood by the industry. For example, we've seen a recent aircraft that's supposed to be the state of the art top aircraft, and yet there's information that's been uncovered that maybe some of the people involved with the design and or the operation of the aircrafts may have known that there were some flaws in the system that might cause that plane to take a dive or do something it shouldn't. Now, the law requires that those professionals who are involved in the aviation industry, not only do they have to be licensed and trained professionals, but they're subject to annual certification. So, for example, pilots have to have annual medical exams. Anyone who touches an aircraft on an aircraft engine, they have to certify and recertify that they're familiar with that engine. And then there is a system set up with a overwhelming amount of data collected. Anyone who touches an aircraft component or a part has to log in a maintenance logbook what they did, who was present, what parts were used, etc. And the pilots on each and every trip, when a pilot takes a plane into the air, it has to be logged in the logbook how long the flight was, where the flight was. So there's a record there to show. Was that pilot well rested? Was he flying too many hours that day? Our hearts go out to, at our firm, the family of Kobe Bryant, who lost his life on January 22nd of 2020 on a Sunday morning off the coast of Malibu, California, with his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. A tragic situation, and we've heard of these tragedies far too often. We know Stevie Ray Vaughan, there were other musicians, famous people who ride these helicopters, usually for short trips from one location, maybe over to an airport to get on a better flight. Weather has always been a factor, and in most of these aviation incidents, if weather's a factor, you have to ask yourself, who authorized this flight? The one thing we know that's true in every single aviation disaster is that the passenger's not at fault. We don't typically, before we get on an aircraft, check the weather, listen to the pilot reports, what they publish every morning about from aircrafts that have already traveled through the area. But pilots have to do that as well as ground control. So there is a procedure that is set up to make sure that if a person enters an aircraft as a fare-paying passenger, that that person can be assured that they've got that competence, that level of competence all the way up the chain from the ground person to the control tower to the pilot, that the conditions are safe for flying. If these type of situations are ignored or if someone's careless, then the law of most all states provide that a victim of any negligence, that's the failure to exercise ordinary reasonable care, entitles not only the victim if they survive, but it entitles the family if they don't survive to a level of damages which we call wrongful death and survival actions. Under most states' wrongful death statutes, the family members themselves who are also harmed, they lost this loved one. They lost the financial support if it's the child of the deceased. They also lost the society, the love, the affection that they once enjoyed with this family member. So our civil courts are designed to allow that person, that family, to pursue wrongful death claims against the responsible party. Now you can imagine those who own and operate aircrafts, those who manufacture aircrafts, have a lot of money and a lot of financial, I should say, risk if they were to be hit in a court by a lawsuit. If a jury were to decide that a particular aircraft or a component was defective or was improperly designed or didn't meet an expectation of the designer, then that jury verdict can ring loud and clear throughout the industry. So, with respect to automobile manufacturers, they may have to recall every single vehicle to fix that problem. We've heard of vehicles that jumped into gear, or the steering suddenly would not respond to input to the steering wheel. So once these things are uncovered, they become very expensive. So unfortunately, it is not a level playing field when it comes to bringing a civil lawsuit against what we call a deep pocket. They will fight and they will hire some of the same engineers and the same specialty experts to come in and testify that it wasn't because of any negligence on their part. So it's very important when we take a case that we gather all the data. The government's a big help when FAA conducts an investigation, as it did it in the Bryant case and will do in most any aviation incidents. It helps that there are logs and information, but we have to ask for them. We have to get control of those before they might be altered or changed, or they might just disappear. So it's very important to get an attorney who's competent in handling these kind of matters very early. In our law firm, at Wesbrooks Law Firm, we take immediate action in cases. I tell every client the number one thing is for us to investigate. We need to get out and gather those facts and make sure evidence is not destroyed or suddenly lost. Then, of course, it's developing the claim, bringing the case, and letting them know we'll try the case to a verdict. And if the firm has a reputation for going to court and producing results, then quite often there is an opportunity to settle the case. At Wesbrooks Law Firm, we offer free consultations and evaluation of any personal injury case, any wrongful death litigation, whether it's automobile accident, trucking events, or aviation accidents. We encourage you or your family, if you have need for our services, to call us at 602-262-4357. Thank you.